Joining us now, former acting DHS Secretary and Heritage Foundation visiting fellow. Back with us now, Chad Wolf. Hey, Chad, we'd love having you on. Okay, federal law enforcement at the border stopped 178,622 people trying to enter illegally. If this keeps up, that's a population of Houston on an annual basis. This is at a 2-decade high. Okay, so how is this not a crisis?
Well, it certainly is a crisis. Obviously, the numbers, not only in the month of April, but even if you go back to the month of March, the numbers are out of control, and it's a result of the policies that the Biden administration have put in place. And so whether you're talking about single adults or families or even children, I think the numbers are at a historic high, the highest that we've seen in 21 years. And the numbers this year alone, and we're just in the month of April, have now surpassed in most categories previous year totals. So you can see where we're at and you can see where we're going. And again, this administration continues to not look at the issue on the border and trying to enforce the law on the border. Again, what they're trying to do is solve this capacity issue. And it's the wrong approach. And they'll talk about moving children out of Border Patrol stations and into HHS, and that's simply moving them from one federal facility to another instead of addressing the issue and making sure that they don't come in the first place.
You know, it's astounding. It's astounding. We have 21,000 children in 200 facilities across dozens of states. These toddlers, infants we're talking about. Yeah. Are these numbers correct? Up to 185,000 gotaways, meaning people crossing unapprehended, not apprehended. Is that number correct?
Well, that's probably the number for the entire fiscal year, but certainly that number, as they go up, as the numbers increase each and every month, the number of gotaways increase each and every month. And so whether you're just looking at April and May alone, you're probably looking at 25 to 35,000 gotaways. And these are individuals that Border Patrol never encounters. So you don't know who they are. You don't know if they're single adults. You don't know if they are family units, but you also don't know if they're a criminal, if they're a gang member, or even worse, a terrorist or have terrorist connections of some kind. So you're exactly right. The number of gotaways continue to increase because the numbers continue to increase.
You know, here's the thing. This is a federal and states' rights issue. Human smugglers abandoned 5 unaccompanied toddlers as young as 11 months. Wasn't even old enough to walk. Border agents in Texas again seized, now this time, $4.6 million in meth and cocaine. The National Guard is finding abandoned AK-47 style pistols in a bag at the border region. So we have 20 U.S. governors firing off to a letter saying to the Biden administration, you're essentially violating states' rights. You're letting criminal, illegal drug traffickers, people who've been convicted of homicides pour into our towns and cities. Plus, they cite the, quote, inhumane treatment of tens of thousands of children that they have to deal with in their states. So is this a federal and state rights issue?
Well, I believe the governors are exactly right. The crime and the resources that it's going to take to dedicate to this come from the states. Now, the federal government's trying to house these individuals, but once they're released into the U.S., which the vast majority of family units and children are, it then becomes a states issue, and the resources and the law enforcement resources, private sector resources that are dedicated to that are borne by the states and these governors. So they are rightfully so, very concerned about what's going on. And so, again, at the border, it's not only a humanitarian issue that we see with all the pictures, but it's a security issue as well. And these are two things that did not have to happen. I have to remind folks that this is a crisis that was entirely inflicted upon the country by the Biden administration. They were handed a border that was safe, secure, and the numbers were under control.
Got it. But it's also, local taxpayers have to foot the bill for the enforcement of this and dealing with, border towns reporting rising crimes, home invasions, carjackings, robberies, stores robbed. So that it is the local U.S. taxpayers in these states having to foot the bill to deal with this, right? Final word.
Absolutely. And it's not only that, it's the local law enforcement. I've talked with a number of sheriffs down there that are overwhelmed because of the number of folks that they're having to encounter each and every day. So it's not only law enforcement, but it's also the civil society in those border states and border communities. Absolutely.
All right. Chad Wolf, thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate it.